Hello, fellow Star Trek fans, and welcome to Backtrack. It seems like 2019 is ending in a really sad way. Earlier this month, we lost Star Trek legends Dorothy D.C. Fontana and Robert Walker Jr. D.C. Fontana being a writer and producer for Star Trek who helped make Star Trek great, and of course, Robert Walker Jr. being the actor who played Charlie in the TOS episode Charlie X. It's with a really heavy heart, however, that now we've lost Rene Auberjonois, the actor who played Constable Odo on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. My first real introduction to Auberjonois was through Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I mean, I'm sure I had seen him in other things as he seemed to be everywhere through his acting career in the 1980s, but for me, Deep Space Nine is when I sat up and took notice of him. Watching Emissary, I wasn't really impressed with the character of Odo. Back then, I thought he was a bit of a hokey character, and certainly, because of his shape-shifting abilities, would become overused in the series. Of course, I couldn't be more wrong. As Deep Space Nine continued to develop and grow in its own right, Rene Auberjonois brought his character of Odo to life. There was something so amazing about this man and how he interacted with the other characters on the show. His scenes with Armin Shimmerman, who played Quark, are the stuff of legends, and really added something very special to DS9. And so, to honor this wonderfully talented man, I'm staying up all night and making this episode to release on Monday instead of the regular Truth or Myth episode. So this episode may not be as polished as my usual episodes, but I will do my best. And so now, here's the life of Rene Auberjonois. Rene Auberjonois was born on June 1st, 1940, in the city of New York to Swiss-born Fernand Auberjonois, who was a Pulitzer Prize-nominated writer, and his wife, Princess Laurie Louise Napoleon Eugene Caroline Murat, who was the great-great-granddaughter of one of Napoleon's marshals. His family moved to Paris, France after World War II, where at an early age he decided he wanted to become an actor. But after a few years in France, the Auberjonois family moved back to the United States and joined the South Mountain Road Artist Colony in Rockland County, New York, whose residents included such talents as the legendary Burgess Meredith. The family would also live in London of the United Kingdom for a while, where Rene completed high school while studying theater there. After college, Auberjonois worked with several different theater companies, where in 1968 he landed a role on Broadway and appeared in 3 plays simultaneously. He would go on to be in many theater productions and even went on to direct many of them. In 2018, Auberjonois was inducted into the American Theater Hall of Fame as an honor for all he had contributed to that field. In 1970, he landed the role of Father John Patrick Mulcahy on the movie MASH, and from there on out, his career in the public eye would grow and grow. He has numerous television credits to his name, including television shows such as The Jeffersons, Wonder Woman, Murder, She Wrote, and of course, Stargate SG-1. But true fame came to Auberjonois when he landed the role of Odo on a new Star Trek series called Deep Space Nine.
I had 2 kids in college and really needed to get that tuition going, and I sat there and I waited and it was my turn to go in, and I started in, and Ron Surma, the other casting director, was leading me to the door, and he turned to me just before he opened the door and he said, "Nobody's been grouchy enough." It was like this mysterious quote, and he opened the door and I walked in and they were all sitting there behind this big table. It was like the Inquisition.
"I don't allow weapons on the promenade. That includes phasers."
I put the script down on the table, and the first line out of my mouth was a line that was for Quark, and I don't even remember what it was. "You're lying," and it sort of came out like that. And there's a thing you know as an actor when you hit the sweet spot, or where you get the room, and I could just sort of feel that they all went.
Odo was to be a changeling, meaning a species that could alter its form to become another form at will, something which would present several challenges to the actor, but that wasn't the only challenges Auberjonois would face in this role.
Odo is a shapeshifter, which means that he can transform into anything. He doesn't really know what he is or where he came from. He was found many years ago floating in space. He has no idea of his history. The result is that he's in some ways quite a tortured character, full of mystery, constantly searching for his true identity. Odo he's a good guy, but he tends to be a little misanthropic. He's sort of grouchy.
I have no interest in speaking to you or in listening to your witless prattle, so stay out of my way!
He would take the role of Odo and make it into something very special, a character that Star Trek fandom at large would grow to think of as one of the family, and he was very proud to be a part of the Star Trek family.
Over the course of the 7 years, we watch him become almost more human than any of the other characters in the show, in a weird way. He's incredibly passionate. He is funny in spite of himself. He's one of those characters who seems to have no sense of humor, and those are often the funniest kind of characters.
He wouldn't just act in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. In fact, Auberjonois would go on to make several other guest appearances in other Star Trek productions, such as Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country and Star Trek Enterprise, and even doing voice work for shows like Family Guy, reprising his role of Odo for a little bit of light humor. Auberjonois would even direct many episodes of Deep Space Nine.
So finally I went to Rick, and Rick said, "So are you ready?" And I said, "Oh, not yet, Coach. I gotta." And a few days later, he called and he said, "It's time. You're going in." And they sent me the first script, and they just threw me overboard, and it was great.
Drinks for everyone. Compliments of the Grand Nagus.
The first episode I directed was Profit Motive. It was scary. It's very scary. But actually, the first one is the honeymoon. Everybody just gets you through it. They do take care of you. It wasn't really until the third one that I was totally on my own and realized I didn't, that I didn't have a complete handle on it yet. And I remember going to Rick after it, and I said, "Oh, I don't know, Rick, maybe I shouldn't be doing this." And he said, "Get out of here. It's just a confluence of things that happen." He didn't consider it a failure in any sense of the word, but I just sort of met my own mortality as a director. But then the next one after that was The Quickening, which was one of, I felt, my most successful directing gigs. So, always the actors and the crew were incredibly supportive. But of course, at a certain point, they take it for granted. Now you're a director. Now, so do it.
After Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Auberjonois would continue to act in such shows as Boston Legal, where he would play Paul Lewiston alongside another Trek alum, William Shatner, who played Denny Crane. He would also lend his voice talents to many animated productions, such as the animated Justice League series, Duck Dodgers, and Young Justice, as well as many video games such as God of War and Fallout New Vegas. In 1996, he would play Odo in the Star Trek video game Harbinger, developed by Stormfront Studios and published by Viacom New Media. And in 1999, he would return as Odo for Simon & Schuster's Star Trek Deep Space Nine video game, The Fallen. He would also narrate several audiobooks, including some Star Trek ones during his career. His last Star Trek performance, however, would be in 2018 in Star Trek Online, where he would once again lend his voice to reprise his iconic role as Odo. There is so much that can be said about Rene Auberjonois. He had a brilliant career that lasted over 50 years, and I really feel that a video like this one can't really do justice to the man and the legacy he leaves behind. I'm very saddened that I have to make this video in the first place. It's always difficult when you lose someone you respect so much, but this is more than that for me. I'm sure many others out there will feel the same way. It's like losing a family member, someone who was over at your place, making you laugh, expanding your imagination with every Deep Space Nine episode you watch. And in the end, maybe that's the most important part of the legacy he leaves behind for us. That when we need a little comfort, a little escape from the day-to-day harshness of the real world, we can sit down in front of the television, pop in a VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, or stream of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and he will be there again, grumpily giving us that comfort we need and whisking us away to the universe of Star Trek in a way only he could. Thank you, Rene Auberjonois, for helping make Star Trek what it is today, and bringing so much love and meaning to people's lives such as myself like you did. You will be missed.
When the script was first sent to me and I read the description of the character, my daughter said, "Oh, Dad, this is yours. You're going to get this." My kids were completely confident that this part was for me, which is, considering the nature of the character, I don't know whether I should take that as a compliment or not.